Alright my friends, it is time to start speculating. Las Vegas Fan Festival is just around the corner towards the end of this exact month that we are in. It is very exciting and we are about to get a flood, literally, of 7.0 news and expansion news. So this is going to be a speculation video, just a bit of predictions. We'll see if we can pull anything out of our butts and predict some stuff, basically. So this can be quite easily done, I think, by just simply looking at the game, how it is, how it plays, and in regards to previous expansion launches, predictions that we had for them, and also fan festivals. So without further ado, let's get straight to this. First of all, without beating around the bush too much, I think there will be 2 normal jobs and 1 limited job. The reason I think there'll be a limited job announced this time around in some capacity is because of how long it has been since Blue Mage was announced and implemented. Remember, we had the unfortunate leaks around that. This time we haven't had any leaks thus far about any new classes or jobs or anything like that, which is really good to see. I do like to be in suspense and be surprised when things happen personally, but I really think it has been too long since the limited job system got some love. I think that the content needs to be embellished a little bit more, and I think one of the ways they will expand upon that is they will incorporate new content at the same time as they implement a new limited job. So whether or not that will be Puppet Master, Beast Master, Tamer, or whatever, I just think there'll be a limited job. I would put my money on Puppet Master or Beast Tamer simply because, or Beast Master, simply because those are the ones that have been prior mentioned by Yoshi P and the team. It could be something completely different. That's just one of my minor predictions. Now, limited jobs obviously don't reach the end game in any way, shape or form, so I think that we should talk about the main job. I think there will be 2 main jobs. I think that it would be a fair assessment to say that we would get a physical ranged and a ranged caster. The only reason I can say this is because of how the game currently stands, with 4 of the majority of the jobs, apart from casters and physical ranged. As to what they could possibly be, I racked my brains the other night thinking long and hard about this, and me and my girlfriend both sat down and said it would be really cool if a ranged physical was something we would not expect, that's something that hasn't been done before, to be quite original. And I think honestly something that uses a whip or something like that would be the best way of putting something new into it. I thought about crossbows and I was like, well, no, that's going to be too close to a bard. Then I thought about guns and corsair and that sort of side of things, and that's a little bit too close to machinist. But I think like a whip class in some way, shape or form, with long ranged whips and going into melee and then jumping back out again, would work quite well. It would also incorporate a very exciting new type of weapon into the game. I think whips are fascinating. You could have like a cat o' nine tails. You could already think about all of the different types of elemental whips and things like that. And obviously we have Final Fantasy VIII with characters like Quistis, and of course her whip. That looks awesome. I think a lot of people would probably go nuts for that. As to how any of the mechanics would work, any of the abilities, I don't know. I haven't thought about it past that. But really, that's one of the most difficult things to think about, because instantly when you think of physical range, you're like, well, maybe something that uses crossbows, and then you're like, no, that's too close to bard, like we say. And then you've got like an arbalist user. I don't know. Can you think of a better physical range? Let me know in the comment section below. And then for the caster, I think it would be really cool if we had like a shaman, so something that used a lot more lightning based abilities, that kind of shaman, a bit like World of Warcraft, kind of like elemental sort of stuff, because we have lightning magic in some regard with thunder, obviously on Black Mage, but it's not really utilized as much. It'd be really cool to have that sort of, the elements at your command sort of thing at ranged, or just lightning based or something like that. The prospect could be really exciting for the sort of job quests or role quests rotating around that. I think that would be a really good fit. As for other things that could work for casters, there's 1,000,001 ideas. One of the ideas that my girlfriend had was like a witch doctor / sort of spirit user, so like using the spirit charms, sort of like an exorcist, that kind of idea. Since they're not going to go probably with the idea of a necromancer now, since they've gone for Reaper, it'd be cool if you had like an exorcist or something, like maybe a holy, holy warrior of some description as a caster, using holy magic. I'm not really sure. A lot of people were thinking about Time Mage previously, but I'm not sure how close that is to Astrologian, honestly. There's a lot of things you could do. Geomancer would probably be a healer if it was in the game, so I don't think that would work. But I think a shaman would be a fairly safe bet for something that would add to the game that doesn't exist already. The closest thing to it would be a black mage, but it doesn't fully go through as much of the sort of elemental idea as I had in my head. But maybe you have a better idea for a caster. But it could be something completely different, right? All we know is there's going to be at least one job announced for 7.0, and I think Las Vegas will announce one of the things, and then Europe in London will announce another job, and then either that or having an extra limited job, so like there's a limited job and 2 normal jobs, or maybe a limited job and a normal job, just like 2 or 1 basically of the normal jobs. But I could be completely wrong, but that's my prediction. I think that would bring things in line. I think most people would take the safe bet and say that a physical ranged and a ranged caster rather would be the safe and easy sort of guesstimate. But maybe you have other ideas, and that's what this is all about. Let me know and we can talk about this stuff. But one of the things hopefully they go into further detail at Fanfest Las Vegas about would be the graphics updates. We saw a very brief sort of slight talk and discussion about the graphics update coming for the game. This includes player characters majoritively, as well as the open world itself getting a bit of a revamp, presumably in new areas first, and then over time backdated for previous zones in the game, which would make the most sense. They also mentioned at the time that they showed these very few screenshots of early development work at a live letter in the last couple of years, the discussion that some NPCs obviously will stay the same, and new NPCs incorporated, and obviously the Scions presumably will be updated with a new graphics update, and then the rest of them will be updated over time. So there is going to be that kind of synergy side by side of old models next to new models. So it'll be interesting to see what exactly that's going to look like, how jarring it's going to be, what sort of time frame we're looking at before the majority of the game can be updated to look the same, because any disparity is going to be quite noticeable, I would say, and could impact the game quite drastically. I'm all for the graphical update, and I would really love to see more discussion about it and see how far they have come in the last year or so, year and a half, since we last talked about this on a live letter, where we're at right now, how much work has been put onto that. And if in those graphical updates, if Viera and Hrothgar can wear hats. That I had to say it, come on, let's be honest. Another thing to mention then is on the discussion of Hrothgar, we should see an announcement and an unveiling of what female Hrothgar look like. They talked about adding this in 7.0, so it should be here. We should see at least some information, maybe some screenshots or artwork concept stuff of female Hrothgar. So there's that to be excited for as well. Additionally to that, obviously, we'll probably get an idea of where we're going. Personally, my prediction for that would be Mericidia. I think it comes as no real surprise that I would guess that. Obviously, you know, it's been mentioned. If you've done the recent storyline without spoiling anything really, there has been kind of an inkling towards the southern part of the world and the southern seas and what's the continent beyond. And if you've looked at the world map of Eorzea itself, without mentioning the other name because it's spoilery, you will see the big continent to the southeast. Also, kind of where Australia would be if it was a real world globe. That's Mericidia. So there's a lot of implications, especially with dragon related storyline. Yeah, very excited. I think that would be the go-to. Will they do two fronts of expansion this time like they did in Stormblood, like they have done many times before, actually, where they do two major zones and then switch between them? Personally, I hope not. I hope that if they're going for Mericidia, they do Mericidia. If they do both the New World, which is one of the other ideas people have come up with, at the same time as Mericidia, I myself will probably be on the fence about that one. I'll have to see how well they handle the switch between two places. I think that Stormblood's biggest fault was that it wasn't two separate expansions, because I liked the Girabanian storyline, but I also liked the Othardian and the Far Eastern storyline as well, equally. But I think that they both deserved more time apart, right? Separated. It felt like we were jumping between the two. That's a valid criticism. I'm sure many people share a similar criticism to that, or they might love Stormblood, for that reason. Personally, I thought Stormblood was great, but they can definitely improve on what they have learnt thus far, and hopefully they just pick one place on the map, on the globe, and just go for it and do it in its entirety, and just do a nice variety of zones, a nice big major city of some description. I cannot wait to see and hear where we're going, and we should hear about that at Fanfest Las Vegas. More details will be obviously at Europe and obviously at Japan, because they need to save some things to announce and to talk about in further detail. So I think it's just going to be very basic announcements, maybe some concept art, and that's about it at Las Vegas. But that's more than enough for me personally. Apart from that, I can't really think of anything else they could announce. I'm sure there are 1,000,001 ideas that they have up their sleeve that they have kept close to their chest, like good developers hopefully do without leaks. I really hope there are no leaks this time. The leaks did not really help the game at all. And I'd rather be in the dark about this and be excited. I am very, very excited. I don't know if you can tell. I think a lot of people are finding it hard to sort of estimate and guess what is coming, because we're in a very unique period of Final Fantasy XIV's sort of time frame where there are only a few things you can really predict. They could go any direction they wanted. There are so many loose ends, so many different storylines that they could elaborate on. We've got Ishtola wanting to return to the first, which isn't really a spoiler since that's been, talked about many, many times for the past few years. Things like that, right? So there's a lot of room, a lot of wiggle room for future expansions. But yeah, that's my predictions, thoughts, and I'm very excited to see if I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong. I want to be blown away, and I want you to be blown away as well. So let me know your predictions in the comment section. We might make a follow-up based on what your comments say, so do take the time. I will read through those, and we'll compile the best ideas that you have. So yeah, much love. And I'll see you all next time. We're just on the cusp of getting the most fantastic information. It really is like Christmas Eve, isn't it?